The following program was produced by a community producer.
In just 15, you'll learn the way to stand up strong and have your say. Special ed's a winding road, will help you carry that heavy load. The 15-minute advocate, your guide, your voice, don't hesitate. For every child who needs a hand, together we take a stand. In just 15, you'll learn the way to stand up strong and have your say. Special ed's a winding road, will help you carry that heavy load.
Hello and welcome to the 15-Minute Advocate. I am your 15-Minute Advocate, Arlene Velleman. Today we are going to talk about you've had your IEP meeting, it's done, and either through email or your child coming home or by mail, you have received this packet. Now what are you going to do with it? Because you're going to look at it and you're going to go, what is all of this? I'm going to help you break it down. So that is today's show. Before I begin, as always, I do want to make sure it is clear that I am not a special education lawyer. I am a special education advocate with years of special education experience and training. Now, as I've mentioned, we have our email here at 15minuteadvocate@gmail.com for you to send in your questions that you would like me to address at the top of the show. And today we have another question. It's a great question. What is the difference between an IEP and a 504 plan? Great question. An IEP, an individualized education plan, includes modifications and accommodations, but also very specific ways that your child will be learning with measurable goals that progress can be measured up against. Very concrete, very specific. A 504 plan comes from the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, where basically it requires schools to level that playing field so your child can be able to access public education. So for example, say your child needs just an accommodation. They don't need that specialized educational interaction, but they do need things like extended time, sign language interpreters, Braille, large print, use of elevators, they need mobility and orientation training, speech therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy, any of those services. Social emotional as well. So those would be written into that. So your child would be in the general education environment with these extra supports. So the playing field is leveled. So again, one needs that specialized education and the other one needs accommodations to level the playing field. I hope that clarified that question from that viewer. Thank you so much for sending that in. And please, I encourage you, send more questions my way. Love to address them at the top of the show. All right, so now let's get into it. You open up the envelope and then it's like, oh my God, all right? If you didn't get your procedural rights at the meeting, that should be in the envelope. That's the first thing. Then the second thing should be 2 copies of the suggested IEP plan, all right? The reason there's 2 is one for yourself and one for a partner, spouse, whatever. The other thing you'll see in there is something that looks like a letter. In Massachusetts, we refer to it as the N1. The N1 basically goes through what you discussed in the IEP meeting, if there were any things that were rejected during the IEP meeting, and what next steps are and who to contact. It's pretty straightforward. But if there's something in there that you don't agree with, I want you to highlight it and flag it, and then you can bring that to your team leader's attention through email. Do it in writing, okay? So we've got that. That's all done. Now is the IEP. First things first, you're going to take it like this, and oh, you're also going to sit down and make yourself a cup of coffee or tea, because it's going to take a little bit to do it, and relax. And first thing you're going to look at is the front page. Is all the names right, birth dates, addresses, phone numbers, is that all correct? Is the dates for the IEP correct? Say you had your meeting on January 12th, 2026. It should be -1 day as a starting day. So it should say like January 11th, 2026 through January 12th, 2027. That's the running time for an IEP, 1 year. Did you have a reevaluation, annual review? Reevaluation, retesting your child is required every 3 years. It can be done sooner if you need to. And the annual review, or an annual review where you meet to update the IEP. Is that all good? If that's good, go on to the next page. Next page, you'll be looking at the concerns. This is where you talked about the things that keep you awake at night, things that you're proud of, the strengths of your child. Is that exactly what you said? If it isn't, highlight that, flag it, and you're going to bring that in writing to the attention of the team leader and have that adjusted. Your child's goals, the team's vision for 5 years, are all those things exactly what you said? If your child is 14 and above, was the transition plan written in a way that you can clearly see the steps that the team is going to be taking to bring your child towards graduation? Again, keep in mind that's going to be changing pretty much every year as your child matures and grows, but I want you to make sure you check that. That's important. Got that done? Flip again. You're going to look at the present levels of performance. I want you to understand, from my point of view, that is the most important part of the IEP. This is where everything lives and dies. It is your baseline for measuring progress. Where is your child at this moment in time? Does it reflect your child? Does it have data to support that? If you're sitting there going, I don't know who this child is, what are they talking about? That needs to be highlighted, flagged, and brought to the attention of your team leader. For me, that is the foundation of everything that is built after in the IEP. If you're scratching your head over that, that needs to be fixed. Next comes the goals. Again, if they are foggy and not clear to you what they're doing, how they're going about doing it, that needs to be addressed, okay? So what you're going to be doing is you are going to look for what we call a SMART goal, which is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound. I don't want to see a goal that says, child will improve based on teacher observation. What does that mean? Nothing. You want something specific. By the end of term 1, the child will read 10 words in 4 out of 5 trials. That's specific. That's measurable. Progress can be documented on that, because you will be receiving a progress report every quarter or aligned with regular report cards. You want to be seeing growth, okay? So that's important. Then you're going to look at the accommodations. Are they specific? Do they address what your child needs to be supportive? And just don't go like, well, yeah, extended time with nothing specific. That means nothing. Extended time by how much? Do they need the extra time? Do they need graphic organizers? Maybe in what subjects? Can they use calculators in mathematics? Making sure that everything is specific, okay? Make sure that is clear so the team will use it in the way that they're supposed to. The next thing you're going to look at is the MCAS accommodations as well, and those should be pretty much aligning together with the other accommodations, all right? So we got that. Then you're going to go to your service delivery. And the service delivery, that is very, very important. As I've said in other shows, the service delivery in Massachusetts is broken up into 3 sections. Section A is the consult section. Do you meet with certain teachers so many times a month, a week? How much time? and check those dates, that the dates on the far right column line up with the dates of the IEP. It could be teachers talking to teachers, counselors talking to counselors, therapists talking to teachers. Whatever that's supposed to be, make sure those line up. Then it's B, which is the regular classroom. When are people coming into the classroom to support your child? Who is coming in to support your child? Make sure that's specific. Again, looking at the time, the amount of time, and the dates. And finally, C, which is the pull-out where the child leaves the regular classroom. How often is that happening? Again, look at the times, make sure it's specific, and check those dates. If all of those line up with the goal areas, so in other words, if you have reading as your first area, you should be seeing reading in your service delivery. Is all that good? Great. Then we're going to check for transportation, extended year services. You're going to make sure that the bullying statement was addressed. Then you want to look at the transportation. Is that exactly what you require if your child needs it? Make sure that's specific as well. There's been several cases that I've had that I've inherited IEPs that was a little vague. With the transportation departments and also budgets in districts, that needs to be addressed. So then we have all of that. If your child is in their 18th year, make sure manifestation is there as well. I mean, not manifestation, I'm sorry, age of majority. Is the child's, can they sign off their own IEPs? Can you and your child sign off the IEP? Or finally, are you the legal guardian and signing off the IEP? So you have all of that. Lastly, check off on the additional information. Is that reflected any additional thoughts that came up in the meeting? Things like your child needs eyeglasses or things like that. Make sure that augmentative communication device, if your child needs something like a special iPad or something like that, that is checked off and dealt with as well. If all of those things are fine, then you're going to come to the page where you sign off. You have 30 days to respond, so take your time. Sit down with tea or coffee multiple times, okay? You have a right to accept it in full, reject part of the IEP, or reject the whole thing. Rejecting the whole thing is another show in and of itself, but you have the right to do that. But say, for example, you came across a couple of little things, like maybe there was a little bit of copy and paste action, that your child's name is Jimmy and it says Mary on the goal. You can send an email to whoever, the team leader, and ask them to fix that and send you a fresh copy of the IEP for you to sign. Small little things like that, you can do it simply. But if there's more involved, you may want to reconvene the team to fix it if you want to. You have that right. But you have plenty of time to do that. So again, let's look over the things that we want to think about. Was the IEP changed based on the meeting? Or do you see a lot of copy and paste stuff going on? If you do, yeah, that's a problem. Do the present levels match the child they describe? Are the goals measurable, meaningful, and connected to needs? Do the services match the goals with time, frequency, and location? Are the accommodations specific, or are they just copy and paste fluff? Did the team ignore or quietly delete the parent concerns, or did they change them totally? Is the placement and least restrictive environment clearly explained and justified? Is extended year services covered if you ask for them? Is transportation acceptable? If the child is 14 and above, is the transition to post-graduation covered? And again, in summary, if the bullying statement is discussed and written into the IEP. If you can say yes to all of those, you're free to sign off and return it to the school district. So now we've debunked everything, made it simple for you to basically handle the IEP. So I want to thank you all for watching. I want to thank Stephanie, my director, and James and Scott and UMA for letting me use the equipment. And I also thank Connor Smith for the great song. So again, I am Arlene Velleman, your 15-minute advocate.
In just 15, you'll learn the way to stand up strong and have your say. Special ed's a winding road, will help you carry that heavy load. The 15-minute advocate, your guide, your voice, don't hesitate. For every child who needs a hand, together we take a stand. In just 15, you'll learn